Rivers gives the United States the lead for the first time tonight.
Well, are you okay? I worried a little bit about you last night, especially in the third quarter. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of X's and Bros throughout the great state of Michigan. I'm Matt Shepard. Andy McDonald is alongside, as always. The Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. We welcome the panicking phone calls. You can text us, Sports Radio 21000. You can also join us in the chat via the streaming devices, X, Facebook, and, of course, on YouTube. Cavs used that franchise playoff record 23-0 run to start the third. They beat up the Pistons 112-103 to even the series at 2 games apiece. Donovan Mitchell went nuts. He scored 43 points, including an NBA playoff record-tying 39 in the second half. The most points scored by an individual player in NBA playoff history was made last night in a half. Donovan Mitchell scoring 39. He tied Sleepy Floyd, 1987, played for Houston. Charles Barkley had 38 back in 1994. Kevin Durant scored 38 in 2019. Now, here's the discrepancy, and here's the challenges that you may have in a debate with a Cleveland Cavaliers fan. Cleveland shot 34 free throws. Detroit 12. We will dive into that. Why it might be difficult for us to complain about it, but on the other hand, why we have a legitimate gripe, for sure. Game 5 is Wednesday at LCA. I saw people last night, got to win it, otherwise it's over in Cleveland. Save me, please. You said the same thing about Orlando when they were down 3-1. So knock it off. I don't like the situation. I thought Detroit would bounce back and win last night. Give Cleveland full marks for the run that they were on, but it is odd on the free throw discrepancy. But again, there's two sides to every story, and that's what we try to look at. OKC finishes off the Lakers 115-110. They complete the sweep. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 35. Ajay Mitchell had 28. The Thunder are 8-0 in the postseason. Lions have signed second-round pick Derek Moore to a 4-year, $11.5 million contract. He gets a $4 million signing bonus. They've also signed their fifth-round pick Kendrick Law to a 4-year, $4.8 million deal. Tigers are in New York tonight to battle the Mets. It'll be Jack Flaherty. Pause. Scared. Yes. Understand. Against Freddie Peralta. Mets own the fewest wins in the league. The least amount of wins at home so far this season. This is where money plays a factor. No, not really. Not really. We talked about it yesterday. Avs beat up the Wild 5-2. Colorado up 3-1 in the series. They are 33-2 all time when leading a playoff series 3-1. By the way, the Lions will play in Germany on November 15. They are also going to help Buffalo christen their new football stadium in week 2 when they go to Buffalo. Here's the Mitch Lyons Wealth Poll question. What should J.B. Bickerstaff do with Jalen Duren? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Have him come off the bench. Don't play him at all. Keep starting him, but play in fewer minutes. Those are your 3 choices. I'm not going to say start him and don't change anything, because that's asinine. It is. I don't care how much of a defender you are of this young man. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. Now, let's not get too hyperbolic, because he was good in game 1, 15 and 15. That doesn't mean you keep doing it when he has played as poorly as he has over the last 2 games, and insert Paul Reed. Okay? So again, you can be as big a defender as this kid as you want to be. And I think he's a good player. But he is gaining a reputation quickly in this playoffs, not this series, the playoffs. I sound like Jim Mora there. We'll get to that and more coming up. Another loss of the childhood yesterday. Craig Morton, the former Cowboys and Broncos quarterback, has passed. With Dallas, 2 division titles, the franchise's first NFC championship. Okay? and 3 postseason appearances. He had a 71.5 winning percentage while in Dallas. Okay. He was a Super Bowl champ. As I mentioned, a little history there. He's the quarterback who led Dallas to its first ever NFC title. Many people would think it's Roger Staubach, but it's Craig Morton. He led the Broncos to their first ever AFC title, 1977. Okay. Some think it's John Elway. It's not. It's Craig Morton. He was the AFC MVP in 77. He was the comeback player of the year in 77. And he's in the Broncos Ring of Fame. He was a good player. He wasn't a great player. He's a really good player. So rest in peace, Craig Morton. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this Pistons-Cavs game from last night, and there's a lot to dive into. The 23 straight points to start the third, as I mentioned, the largest playoff running Cavs playoff history. Mitchell had 20 points in that quarter. They scored 38, right, Andy? 38 in the third. He had 20 of them. They were locked. What's that?
He was unbelievable last night. I mean,
he really
at different times, he just looked locked in, and he was the best player on the floor. No question about it.
I agree with you. It's hard to deny. And I think you and I are both saying that, not just because of the scoring that he was doing, but he was super aggressive. It does lead to, the debate on going to the free throw line. He had 15 free throws. The Pistons had 12 as a team. And I'm not one of those guys who believe, you're in the paint. Look at how many shots you're getting in the paint, and we'll give you that specifics coming up. And automatically you get a whistle. That's bullcrap. You can defend without fouling. That is a possibility in the NBA. It just seems very odd to have that big a discrepancy. If it were a borderline blowout and you were fouling at the end on purpose, that's different. That was not the case, as you and I both know. So that is something that we have to discuss, because that is the topic of discussion. Okay? It really is. And when you see what has happened to one specific player, it's really hard to deny. Is it fair to blame only Jalen Duren for the loss? You can't do that in a team sport, I don't believe, unless somebody makes a serious discretionary play. I would say, as much as we've praised Tobias Harris, and he's deserved it, he wasn't great last night, 6 of 17. We have talked about Duncan Robinson looking yesterday. We said it looks like he's back to playing at Michigan. He had 4 points last night. As much as we love Cade Cunningham, 5 more turnovers last night. I said it yesterday. He's averaging over 5.5 turnovers a game in the playoffs. He had 5 more last night. But the pointed finger is going to be on Jalen Duren, and here's the reason why. Because he is the one guy who has consistently not played up to his potential or not played up to his regular season numbers. Everybody else, you've seen glimpses of playing to that number and then some. He's the only one who hasn't. So we'll dive into that when we come back. And he's free to admit that he's got to be better. We'll talk about it on the other side here on X's and Bros. Glad you're with us on a Tuesday morning throughout the state of Michigan on the Michigan Sports Network.
How would you like to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in Michigan? Well, you can get a huge deal and also get the biggest TV at your local ABC Warehouse store. You can shop online right now at abcwarehouse.com. They have locations all across Michigan. So if you want to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in your neighborhood, go to your local ABC Warehouse store or shop online at abcwarehouse.com.
Motown Legends, TNT, together again. Temptations. For Tops, Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Tickets start at $55 and on sale now at the box office at etix.com. Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Temps and Tops together again.
Dad, here's 3 reasons why we should go to the Meyer LPGA Classic for Simply Give.
Okay.
1, you can spend Father's Day weekend with some real golfers.
Ouch.
2, it's a good time for a good cause. Foodie fun, family fun, and fun helping feed neighbors in need.
And 3.
3, do you really need another reason?
Join the fun June 18th through 21st at the Meyer LPGA Classic for Simply Give. Learn more and get tickets at MeyerLPGAClassic.com.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sportsnet. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sportsnet Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
I just gotta be better, man. I have no excuses. You know what I mean? I'm my biggest critic. You know, I know what I gotta do and able to contribute to our team and our success. And, you know, I'm standing on myself about doing that, no matter what the case may be. Like I said, I got great teammates, great coaching staff. I know that as a group, we're going to come back even stronger. I have no doubt about it.
Well, it's Jalen Duren. Let's hope he comes back stronger. The question now is, and it's our Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question, how does JB Bickerstaff handle this? What does he do about this situation? And Bickerstaff has a comment about that, too, because somebody asked him. So we'll get to that. Hunter Patterson will join us at 8:35. Really looking forward to that for sure. Was in Cleveland, asked some good questions. So we'll talk about that. Here's where people gain ammunition on Jalen Duren. For sure. You can't deny it. As much as you would like to defend this young man, you can't. Not over the way he has played, okay? Game 4 was the 5th time that Jalen Duren has been held to single digits in the scoring column in the playoffs. He had 8 points. The 5th time, okay? And as you know, they've played 11 games. 7 against Orlando, 4 so far against Cleveland. He was held to single digits or under 10 points 6 of the 70 games he played during the regular season. How do you explain that? Don't give me they don't try during the regular season. Stop. Okay? It's different in the playoffs. There's no question it's different. No one's arguing that. You can't go 8 points, 2 boards in 27 minutes and have your backup go 15 points, 4 boards in 15 minutes and expect people to protect you. You can't in game 3 go 11 points, 4 boards in 29 minutes and your backup go 11 points, 3 boards in 10 minutes. When people say Paul Reed should be playing more, this is the reason they're saying it. And they are right. Why isn't he playing more? That's a big question. All right. Paul Reed played 14 minutes yesterday. 15 points in 14 minutes. Really impressive. And a difference maker. And you could feel the game change. The whole energy thing is a little, I think, can be a little misleading sometimes. When you hear people say, well, he plays with more energy. Jalen Duren plays with a lot of energy. He is not getting it done. Would I change my starting lineup? No. Would I give him an early hook? Yes. Would Paul Reed play more minutes? You bet. The question would be, how many minutes? You can't put a number on it. You can't just go into a game and say, if I'm JB Bickerstaff, I'm playing Paul Reed 24 minutes. You can't do that. You have to see how the game is going. Look, you and I are complaining right now that Jalen Duren's playing too many minutes because he's not being productive, right? Are we on the same page with that argument? Okay. If that's the case, you can't go into a game and say Jalen Duren is only going to play X amount of minutes. What if he is productive? You're going to want him on the floor more, just like you would want Paul Reed on the floor more. I go into the game, and most players will tell you this. If they're coming off the bench, they'd like to know, in a perfect world, around what time they're coming in. It gets them as mentally prepared as anything else. There's a certain time Chuck Daly brought in Vinnie Johnson. It was right around that same time. And Larry Brown was no different with some of the backups that he had, including our friend Lindsey Hunter when they won in 2004. So instead of going to Isaiah Stewart, I might go to Paul Reed earlier than we're used to seeing Paul Reed. I'd bring him in at a certain time. If things are struggling, even if things aren't going great for Jalen Duren, just to get Reed in there and make an impact. Doesn't mean I'm automatically going to pencil him in for 24 minutes. I'm going to give him the minutes that he deserves. Now, that may seem a little hypocritical because Duren's getting more minutes than he deserves. In the NBA, oftentimes that is a starter's role. Whether you like it or not, it's oftentimes what people do. There is such a fine line for coaches between riding a hot hand and letting another guy get cold. And I think what's happened too often is the JB Bickerstaff has not ridden the hot hand or productive player. How's that? If Paul Reed's been the better choice, keep playing him. There is a confidence question that a lot of people will have, and I understand why. It's one of the biggest mysteries that I've never really been able to answer with athletes at this level anyway, is the confidence thing. Think of how confident you have to be as an athlete to play at this level. You're the best in all likelihood, best ever on your high school team, maybe the best ever in your high school period. More oftentimes than not, one of the better, or if not the best player in for your college team or your G League team or whatever. And now you get to this point and suddenly you lose your confidence. It's very odd, but that's what's happened. Okay. So there's two themes from last night. Correct me if you think I'm wrong here, Andy. One is the Jalen Duren continuous struggle that is really frustrating and at times puzzling for sure. The other is the free throw line situation. According to Sports Reference, okay, only 9 times in NBA history has an NBA team had 60 or more 2-point attempts, less than 15 free throw attempts, while the opposing team was shooting 40 or more triples and got to the line 30 or more times. Now, that's a lot of, individual subsections of that statistic, but it is a little odd.
Yeah, no, it's definitely odd. There was 100% of discrepancy last night that was noticeable. It's not like you didn't see it. I'm not the person that's going to lean on that. Just from watching the game, I just felt like the Cavaliers played a lot better than the Pistons. I don't know.
I do too.
Throughout the whole game. It's just like, for me, I get it 100%, like why that matters and why JB's talking about it and why Cade's talking about it. I mean, they're on the floor, JB, not literally, but they're not getting the calls, right? And they're seeing the calls and not getting it. I get it. That happens in a lot of games. I don't know if it'll change anything. They spoke up, like Donovan Mitchell spoke up, and clearly Donovan Mitchell spoke up, and he's getting some results right now.
Right.
So I don't blame
That's
them.
part of the problem with the league, though, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure.
You'll hear a guy start complaining. Maybe I should start flopping. Maybe I should do this. And then miraculously, it changes.
Yeah.
Why?
No, I don't know. But yeah, at the end of the day, Cade had some turnovers last night, didn't play his best basketball in the second half. Jalen Duren clearly still isn't getting it done at the way that you like to see it. I mean, when Karis LeVert and Paul Reed are your best 2 players on the floor, if you're not getting anything, they gave you so much last night, you would have thought that the Pistons could have won if any of their, stars gave them the time that you normally get out of them. But Cade, Duren, Tobias, none of them really gave them what you need to get from them.
Okay, all fair. And we've already suggested, so you're on board. Can I bring up 2 other names?
Sure.
And I think I don't want to say they get a free pass. They get overlooked because of what they've done already. Okay? Asar Thompson, Duncan Robinson.
Absolutely. Neither one played good last night either. I think the whole starting 5 was not where they needed to be last night.
And like I said, Duren not good enough. -12. Asar Thompson was a -27, Andy.
No, bad. And he looked bad every time.
A -27. I haven't seen one thing about that.
You're not wrong.
Here's why. Because he played well enough in game 3. He was really good in game 2 and really good in game 1. We have a narrow focus right now. Hunter Patterson joins us 8:35 to discuss more here on X's and Bros.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Saturday night, May 23rd.
Carry on my wayward son.
Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort welcomes multi-platinum legends, Kansas. Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com. Don't miss the best of classic rock. Kansas returns to Soaring Eagle Saturday, May 23rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Dad, here's 3 reasons why we should go to the Meyer LPGA Classic for Simply Give.
Okay.
1, you can spend Father's Day weekend with some real golfers.
Ouch.
2, it's a good time for a good cause. Foodie fun, family fun, and fun helping feed neighbors in need.
And 3.
3, do you really need another reason?
Join the fun June 18th through 21st at the Meyer LPGA Classic for Simply Give. Learn more and get tickets at MeyerLPGAClassic.com.
Again, you got to give guys confidence. You got to give them belief. He's accomplished a lot for us. He's done a lot of things. Again, I still believe that, nothing is just given. Things still need to be earned. Again, that's why, P. Reed got the minutes. He earned them. I thought he deserved them. And then, give JD a chance to go back out there and do the things we know he's capable of. You don't just give up on guys when they're having a hard time. And that's why our guys genuinely care for one another. They support one another. And we'll fight through and figure it out together.
So I would agree with that from JB Bickerstaff. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9 throughout the great state of Michigan. Hunter Patterson for The Athletic joins us 8:35. You can follow him on Twitter at Hunter Patterson. But as we've said before, that's a fine line. You've got to do what's best for your team. Now, I think what he'll do moving forward, and rightfully so, is hook him early. If you're going to play this way, you're not going to play as much. You need him for the most part. I think that's fair to say, but you need the regular season version of Jalen Duren, or at least the version of the first two games in the series.
Yeah, I don't know if pulling him out of the starting lineup would be the right move, just because if you put somebody else in, maybe that changes the way they play too. I feel like Paul Reed coming off the bench is fine. It's just, I think what I want to see more is that Paul Reed is the first option off the bench instead of Isaiah Stewart right now. Because I just feel like he's giving you better minutes than most people out there. I mean, what he was doing last night offensively, it was great.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Andy. I don't know how we want to judge Isaiah Stewart, quite honestly. He only played 7 minutes.
No, he hasn't got enough time either.
And he had 4 points and 3 boards. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know the situation there. I don't think he's looked great either.
No.
Although the numbers per minute hasn't necessarily been a bad thing. And he was a +6. I think what's happening right now is, as much as we were impressed with Detroit coming back from 3 games to 1 down, people felt like because you were in a 3-1 hole, that coaching had to be better. Look, players had to be better too. Outside of Cade Cunningham and Tobias Harris in the first round, most people felt like everybody on that team had to be better, including coaching. Now, when you come back from 3-1, he gets a contract extension. People tip their hat to him, and rightfully so. You go up 2 games to none. You feel really good. You're not even bringing up coaching. The focus in a 2-0 series lead was all about the players, and it was all about Cade Cunningham and how well he's played and so on and so forth. Now, suddenly, Cleveland holds serve, and they're undefeated at home. They haven't won a road game yet in the playoffs, but they're undefeated at home. And what is the concern? It's coaching. Why was there no tip of the cap to coaching in the first 2 games? So, for example, Kevin in the comments section on YouTube, no adjustments at halftime, poor coaching. The halftime adjustments is one of my favorite debates. What did the adjustments have to be? What did they need to do at halftime that you felt was glaringly omitted? I mean, Donovan Mitchell, with what he did in the fourth quarter, how about some adjustment there is what Kevin is probably referring to. How about doing something to adjust to Donovan Mitchell instead of letting him go off for 39 points in a quarter, or in a half, rather?
Yeah, because I mean,
that's what he's referring to. Halftime adjustments, they held him in check in the first half.
I was going to say first half, kind of going into halftime. They looked the best they did all night.
Yes. I mean, they had a 32-point second quarter. They were leading at the break. I think what he's saying is the second half adjustments, while the game is being played in the second half, what are you adjusting to? I found it odd that at times, look, if Asar Thompson's your best defender, it's so much easier said than done. But if Asar Thompson's your easiest defender, or your best defender, shouldn't he be guarding more oftentimes than not the opposing team's best shooter? Makes sense, right? They were, but Karis LeVert was all over Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, that's
like white on rice.
That's what's sad about last night, is that Karis LeVert played a really good game that kind of is just going to get I mean, people will maybe be calling for him a little bit more after that, I guess. But
Well, they
I
weren't
feel,
earlier
no
in the playoffs, were
no,
they?
not a chance. But
They
I mean,
didn't want to see him at all.
I think it might have just been his night. I'm not
Sure.
going to overreact to that one, but I think that it does suck that he gave that kind of effort, and it doesn't really matter for anything because he came off the bench and gave them the spark they needed in the first half.
I'll tell you, I remember it was game 2 against Orlando, and Karis LeVert played 25 minutes and scored 2 points. The next game, he played 25 minutes and scored 2 points. One was a win, game 2. One was a loss, game 3. Okay, or I'm sorry, it was game 6, 5 and 6. 5 they lost. He played 25 minutes, 2 points. The next game, game 6, he played 25 minutes, 2 points. People were livid. I don't need to see him anymore. He's not helping the cause. He doesn't add anything to this team at all. It was a bad signing. All these different comments. Needed him last night, and he gave you everything he had, and he was pretty good. If we did everything with a knee-jerk reaction, Karis LeVert would not have played at all last night. And he was a difference maker in the first half. Am I wrong there?
No, you're 100% right. If you were doing the knee jerk thing you're talking about, then you'd be pulling him or you'd be pulling a Sar Thompson and starting Karis LeVert this game. Like you can't just do that. I get that part of it.
Yeah, I agree. The pointed finger should be at Jalen Duren because he has been inconsistent, or maybe he's been consistently bad in the playoffs. But when we lock focus on just one guy because we don't think he's a max contract player, neither do I, and we had higher expectations, which I think is a good thing, and he's not coming through, there needs to be a message sent. That's fine, but don't get so locked in where you're not recognizing some other issues. And I've mentioned Isaiah Stewart, and I mentioned Duncan Robinson. And I mentioned Asar Thompson from last night. The blame can be spread around. Everybody that I can recall wanted Ron Holland in this series because he didn't play in Orlando series. Hardly at all. 8 scoreless minutes last night. If you're a believer in the plus minus, that's why I brought up Asar Thompson, who I think has been dynamic. And I greatly appreciate they don't win the Orlando series without him. And I think he was really good in the first couple of games against Cleveland. If that's the case, are we going to complain that in 19 minutes he gave you 4 points? Probably not. Why? Because we're locked on one dude. That dude is part of a group of guys who didn't play well enough.
No, I mean, Duncan Robinson was invisible last night at times. Tobias Harris didn't have a point in the second half and just didn't really become a factor at all. But I think the one thing, too, that we're kind of missing in all this, maybe Cleveland does deserve a little bit of credit for the energy they brought, too, because I felt like their defense last night, I understand the fouls that could have been called and everything inside. I felt like they came out and played harder defense than they have the entire series last night against the Pistons, too.
I don't disagree with that. I think they were forced to, especially in the second half. It's part of the reason they went on a 23-0 run. It wasn't just because shots were dropping for them. It was because of their ability to defend too. It's almost as if Kenny Atkinson got his guys together and went back in his old Richmond playing days, because Kenny Atkinson was a point guard on the old Richmond Spiders days when they made a couple of NCAA tournaments. And he said to his guys, you see that team over there? That's the gold standard of defense. If you want to win this series, if you don't want to go home early, you better start doing what they do.
That's seriously,
and they did.
Felt like, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I felt. All right, let's get to some texts. Right around this time, we always get Freddie. I appreciate it. Shep, if Pistons fans are going to cry about free throws, why can't Pistons fans wish Cade did what Donovan Mitchell did after game 1, basically putting the officials on blast? Cade doesn't even get those star calls. Freddie, I think people have said that all year long, and I think you're right about that. For the most part, I'm glad that he, I'm glad that he doesn't have to do that. I'm glad that he doesn't sit there and openly whine, like not just Donovan Mitchell, but like a lot of players. The only thing I would remind you is, like, we think, oh, Cade doesn't get the star calls. I think you're right to a certain extent on that, but I would just, when you look at free throw attempts, Cade Cunningham's a top 20 player in that regard. Now, should he get more? I don't disagree with that. He deserves more free throw attempts per game than what he gets. Luka Doncic led the league with 10 free throw attempts per game. Okay. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 9 free throws per game. Paolo Banchero, a little bit more than 8 free throw attempts per game. Cade Cunningham had 6 per game. Now, the other guys, I wouldn't say Doncic. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a little bit of a flopper, maybe more than a little. Doncic, a whiner for sure, and they're getting rewarded. Banchero, a physical player, so he's going to do it. How much is Cade taking it to the hole to get those fouls? I think he deserves more too. I'm thinking out loud here. Detroit was in the paint a lot last night and didn't get many fouls called.
100%. Yeah, no, there was definitely a difference.
Shep, the way JB makes excuses for Duren is the difference in good coaches and great coaches. These coaches and GMs listen more to the radio and do the opposite. People who defend Duren now just don't want to admit that they were wrong. He dunks great. Wow. Mark Eaton dunked it with authority too. Well, hey, come on, man. I mean, here's what's happened. You've gotten into a trap just perhaps like people who defend him. And there is no defense of him right now. There just isn't. Unless he's playing with a pulled hamstring, there is no defense of him. And of course, if he were, you shouldn't be playing him in the first place. But to say that he's just a dunker is just not accurate. It's not smart. You lose the argument right away. He's not that player. You've got it set in your mind. My mind is made up. He's Andre Drummond, and he's not. I'm not saying he's as gifted as Victor Wembanyama, so don't take it out of context. But don't give me this all he is a dunker, because it's a bad argument, all right? You want to argue that he's not a max guy, you're right. You want to argue that he has been terrible in this playoffs so far this season, you're 100% right. You want to argue that at 22, he should be better than what he is. You were right. If you want to argue that he should be able to expand a little bit more of his offensive game, I think you're right. But to say all he does is dunk is wrong. And I've proven that. I've tweeted out video clips of him doing crossovers at the free throw line, spinning his way to the cup. Andre Drummond couldn't do that stuff. All right? He's not just a dunker. As a matter of fact, he did it last night too. In one of the rare moments where he took it at the left elbow and decked it and drove.
Yeah, every now and again you still see it. Like you still see what he did in the
every
regular
now and
season.
again.
And it's just it's crazy that there's it's either some the confidence thing you're talking about. It's wild to lose it as bad as he has, but like that, I mean, even that play last night where towards the end of the game, I think they would end up being down by 9 or 10 or whatever it was when Cade dropped one off to him and he just didn't see it coming and it went off his hands. Like that's the kind of play in that's gonna that's hard to get out of your head. I feel like after you make plays like that over.
Whose fault was that? More likely Duren's would be my guess. You got to be ready for that.
You got to think.
He thought Cade Cunningham was going to shoot. That is not out of bounds by any stretch. He's your best player. I would have thought he was going to shoot it too. You've got to be ready for that. Okay, so that's on him. There's no question about it. But we define players early in their careers, very early, especially if we watch them every night. And then we let other players almost slide. I'll give you an example. Riley Green's defined right now as a strikeout guy. And then somebody will say to me, I wanted a right-handed power bat. Like who? Eugenio Suarez. Okay. But you want to... You don't like the strikeouts, but you want that guy's strikeouts? I mean, that to me makes no sense. Well, he had 49 homers. I get it, but when you're sitting at home or you're sitting in the seats at Comerica Park and you see that guy do that over and over and over again, you're going to get tired of it. But you don't watch him every night. We watched this guy every night. If you watched him every night, there's no way you would come to the conclusion all he does is dunk. But if you also watched him every night, there's no way you come to the conclusion in the postseason that he's going to be okay, because he doesn't look okay. He looks like a different player. He looks lethargic. There's no energy there. There's no want to. There's no gas level. There are all kinds of issues with him. I do not disagree. I would limit the minutes if it's going to continue with this, because you can't sacrifice the entire team for the betterment of one guy. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think,
and I would also add this. Those who defend, I agree with Freddie. People who defend Duren just don't want to admit they were wrong. The people who are now jumping on him, I didn't hear anybody saying they were wrong during the regular season when he was an all-star, was when he was in line for an all-NBA player, and he was giving you 20 and 11 every single night on average, 19 and a half, 10 and a half. You don't mind if I round up. I hope you don't. Okay. 20 and 11. There was no, I was wrong there. And I sure don't remember anybody saying, oh, by the way, I'm going to wait to reserve my judgment until the playoffs. You weren't doing that either. So you can't defend him during the postseason. But you can't defend your line of thinking during the regular season either. And I know the postseason is a hell of a lot more important than the regular season. I get all that. But this whole belief of, well, they just don't try and all this other stuff. So in other words, there's not one player who can rest on his laurels or his numbers based on that line of thinking, because nobody tries during the regular season. So let's make sure we're using that when it comes to Luka Doncic, LeBron James in the past, how much of his numbers really matter because nobody tries during the regular season. Am I wrong about that? Does it matter that you win a division title? It probably shouldn't then, because the regular season doesn't matter.
He's not just, you can't just call him a dunker if, he built the reputation to have this much conversation about him at this point anyway. He wouldn't, no one would be talking about him this much if he didn't ever play good, if he wasn't ever more or considered to be a max player. Clearly there's a reason that everybody's talking about it this much.
Exactly. You can't do that. As far as Bickerstaff, between the difference between good coaches and great coaches, on excuses, I don't know if I take it as an excuse from JB Bickerstaff. It's a line of thinking. You can disagree with the line of thinking, okay? Are great coaches the ones who believe in players, stick with them through tough times, and get them through those tough times? Or are they the pig-headed coaches who say, you know what, I'm going with this guy no matter what? Jimmy Johnson, Dallas Cowboys, 1992, Detroit Lions, I'm starting Steve Berline instead of Troy Aikman. Just an example. I'm going to go with this guy when the other guy is better. Are you giving the guy confidence? Are you sticking to the hot hand? What is it, the difference between good and great coaches in that sense? Here's how you find out if JB Bickerstaff's right. If Jalen Duren responds, and he hasn't responded so far. Quick timeout. Hunter Patterson joins us from The Athletic at 8:35 here on a Tuesday morning on X's and Bros.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
If you're the largest selling comedy recording artist in history,
you might be a redneck.
Jeff Foxworthy, Friday, June 12th, inside the Soaring Eagle Entertainment Hall.
Our parents can't text and our children can't write.
Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office and online at etix.com. Laugh it up at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort Friday, June 12th with Jeff Foxworthy.
My father-in-law got his chest hair caught in his zipper.
SoaringEagleCasino.com.
The stock market goes up and then it goes down. It's fine while you're saving for retirement, but as you get closer to retirement, it can cause stress. Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. In my NFL days, the season could be a real roller coaster and a lot of fun, but roller coasters in retirement aren't as much fun. Do world events have you wondering if your retirement is safe? Will your money last even if the stock market were to take a dive? Have you had your retirement account stress tested to see what kind of risk you're actually taking? Let's not leave your retirement to chance. Hope is not a plan. Contact the pros at Mitch Lyons Wealth today and put us to work for you. Let's ensure your plan works even if the stock market doesn't. Text PLAN, P-L-A-N, to 844-867-8335. That's PLAN to 844-867-8335. MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. Investment advisory services are offered through MLW Advisory Services, LLC, DBA Mitch Lyons Wealth, a registered investment advisor.
Dad, here's 3 reasons why we should go to the Meyer LPGA Classic for Simply Give.
Okay.
1, you can spend Father's Day weekend with some real golfers.
Ouch.
2, it's a good time for a good cause. Foodie fun, family fun, and fun helping feed neighbors in need.
And 3.
3, do you really need another reason?
Join the fun June 18th through 21st at the Meyer LPGA Classic for Simply Give. Learn more and get tickets at MeyerLPGAClassic.com.
Just the spirit, right? Like the things that you can control, you got to take care of. And, physically, he can dominate a game, whether it's rebounding, whether it's defending, whether it's running the floor. Like, put your emphasis and focus on those things, and then the rest of the game will come to you.
This is what makes coaches different than us, and this is why a lot of us can't be coaches. To be that clear-headed, some would say. JB Bickerstaff on Jalen Duren. Welcome back. X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. We're brought to you first hour by Mitch Lyons Wealth, second hour by our friends at Meyer. You can text us, Sports Radio 21,000. You can call us on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843, or you can join us in the chat on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, if you so choose. The Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question: what do you do with Jalen Duren, considering the struggles that he has had, considering he's being outplayed by his teammate Paul Reed? Have him come off the bench, don't play him at all, keep starting him, but play fewer minutes. Those are the options, and you can vote as often as you want at XB Mornings. I've retweeted it as well. Hunter Patterson from The Athletic joins us at 8:35. Just real quick, an aside, I saw a video drop, and you can't help but watch it if you're a Lions fan. It dates back to October 27, 2013, the Lions against the Cowboys. I don't know if you remember this. Matthew Stafford and the Lions, and what I didn't like, the helmets where they had the black stripe. They're down 30-24, fourth quarter. I think there's under 30 seconds to go, and Stafford slings one to Calvin Johnson. Then a little bit of a little pocket hole pass up the left sideline to Chris Durham. I know, his ex-teammate at Georgia. Then he throws a laser on a seam route to Calvin Johnson to get down to the 1 yard line. And then everybody in the whole building, this is the famous mic'd up segment where he's like, Riley, for Riley Reef to hustle back to position himself at the left side of the offensive line. And Stafford, instead of spiking it, and Dan Marino did this once, but Dan Marino threw it. Dan Marino was calling spike, and he throws it in the corner for a touchdown. Stafford, everybody thought was going to just immediately spike it. He takes the snap, goes over the top for the touchdown. And you knew everybody thought he was going to spike it because, A, he's pointing, B, Reggie Bush, who at the time was his tailback, was just standing there. He had no motion whatsoever. He just went, oh, my God, like this. And even Calvin Johnson, split wide right, did the same thing. All you got to do is watch it once or twice, and you recognize that.
That's got to be one of my first memories, honestly. Like I that's one of the first things I remember about being a Lions fan, when I can start to remember stuff.
Yeah, you go back to that moment, and first of all, a couple of those throws were unbelievable, especially the whole throw to Durham. But everybody just stayed there. All receivers stayed in their stance. Bush stayed in his stance. I'm surprised even the offensive lineman didn't budge, but Stafford took a chance. But that was October 27, 2013, dating back. So just made me think of it just real quick. Let me finish a few texts here. Let's see. Okay. Shep, people keep saying Duren hasn't gotten it done yet. Like all of a sudden in the playoffs, he will. He cannot shoot or drive the lane. They're suffocating him, and he has no game to get around it or shoot a jumper. In the regular season, they let him walk right in like he was walking into Olive Garden, and the greeter opened the door for him, welcoming him in. It's the most laughable defense on this guy as a player in this town, and the way they defended Don Kelly or even a Riley Green. The team absolutely stinks, and he's hitting a bit again. So now everyone thinks he's back. But let's see how he hits when he gets serious again. How dare me question Green, Duren, and Lucas Raymond? I'm a bad fan. I don't think you're a bad fan. It's interesting how you have taken stances on certain players. Like you're trying to tell me that Riley Green in the 21 game on base streak isn't impressive. You're going to take a shot at him, but nobody else gets scathed. What?
It just seems like
that's the mountain you're going to die on. You're going to say Riley Green right now. That seems a little odd to me. In other words, you're going to take the shot at the guy who leads the team in batting, 317, leads the team on base hits, on base percentage, 420, leads the team in hits with 46, has an on base percentage on base streak of 21 straight. That's the guy you're going to take the shot at. That seems a little strange to me. That's all.
Yeah.
You don't like the strikeouts? I get it. He doesn't have the most on the team. 47 is too many. His walk rate is up. But you want to see it when what? The game matters. So none of these games matter at all to you? That seems a little odd. That's all.
Just give credit when it's due to me right there. I mean, if you had problems with them last year, the strikeouts and stuff, I get it. Or, whatever you want to say about Lucas. It's just like when the players do good, you still got to give them credit. I mean, right now, how can you be complaining about Riley Green? I don't understand it.
You can complain about a lot of things about the Tigers right now.
Yeah, exactly. And he's the one you can't.
Riley Green's probably the one you should just bite your tongue on. You want to save it in your holster for later? Okay. But he's been pretty damn good. This all comes back to what I always say. What is the expectation? Do you want a guy who hits 300 with home run power? No, he doesn't have as many homers as you'd like. I don't disagree with that. We can nitpick about a lot of different players, all right? All over Major League Baseball. But you're taking on the guy who leads the team in average, and if average doesn't matter to you, he leads the team in on-base percentage, like I said, and if that doesn't matter to you, and it's about slug, because you and Scott Harris are on the same page there. He leads the team in slug. Oh, sorry, Shep. I meant OPS. He leads the team in OPS, and he's second on the team in WAR. That one's troubling to me. Maybe you're talking about his career in general. Okay, that's a possibility. Two-time All-Star, Silver Slugger, not enough for you. Okay, your expectations are high. I kind of like that. Lucas Raymond, yeah, I don't think he's a superstar. I think it depends on what you're considering people label these players. I don't think any of these guys are superstars. The Tigers have one superstar, and it's Tarek Skubal. The Pistons have a superstar in Cade Cunningham. Red Wings don't have a superstar. Lions, multiple superstars. I would say a superstar is top 5 at his position. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's actually, I was going to bring that up to you today, Shep, because I had a talk with a coworker yesterday just about that. Like, it feels like in the NBA, at least, the superstar word is just thrown around like so loosely now. Like, what's the difference between a star and a superstar? Because it's like, to me, like, he was making the debate that Cade isn't a superstar. He's just a star. I'm like, well, when people use I heard Donovan Mitchell get called a superstar last night on TV. That's my whole point. Like, if you're going to call those guys superstars, got to call Cade a superstar. Like, I don't get how you can't.
Yeah, anytime I have those discussions, Andy, I ask the person, define it for me first. So we're on the same page.
Yeah, that's fair. And I probably should have done that too.
So give me what you consider, or maybe give me an example of who a superstar is. And he'll say, in all likelihood, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yep, that was one of the first ones.
Luka Doncic, something like that. Okay. Cade Cunningham, I believe, is a superstar. Okay. When you're going to be on the Olympic team, and look, Derek White was on the Olympic team, so that doesn't make him a superstar. Yes. He's the best player at his position in the league, in the world. He's one of the best players at his position as a guard. If somebody said to you right now, give me the best guards right now in basketball, it's Cade Cunningham and it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, Luka Doncic is also called a guard. I think that warrants superstar credibility. So how many superstars are there in the league? Those are all rabbit holes we can go down into. Most people in the league would tell you he is. More text on the other side. Our phone number on the Meijer hotline is 866-838-4843. Glad you're with us on a Tuesday morning. We're brought to you by Meijer.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Saturday night, May 23rd.
Carry on my wayward son.
Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort welcomes multi-platinum legends, Kansas. Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com.
Just in the wind.
Don't miss the best of classic rock. Kansas returns to Soaring Eagle Saturday, May 23rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
How would you like to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in Michigan? Well, you can get a huge deal and also get the biggest TV at your local ABC warehouse store. You can shop online right now at abcwarehouse.com. They have locations all across Michigan. So if you want to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in your neighborhood, go to your local ABC warehouse store or shop online at abcwarehouse.com. Coming up later today at 3 on The Huge Show on the Michigan Sports Network, I'll deliver huge opinions on everything you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we played 2 different games tonight. I mean, it is what it is. You know, I realized early on it's going to be one of those type of nights. Got hit on my arm early. Didn't get a whistle. Everybody didn't want to look at me after that. I kind of knew what it was. So just, you know, playing the game, we can't allow that to get to us. That's part of the game. The home team, you never know how it's going to be. It's going to be hard when you're on the road. So, you know, just controlling our emotions, controlling what we can control, and playing the best brand of basketball we can play. That's not why we lost the game, but, I mean, I don't know if it was like 20 free throws disparity or something like that. I mean, it definitely doesn't help.
There's Cade Cunningham talking about the elephant in the room. He had a quarter of his team's free throw attempts. 3. The team had 12. He had 3 of them. Cleveland went to the stripe 34 times. Donovan Mitchell himself went more to the line than Detroit's team did. A big discrepancy and a big reason why Cleveland, it's not the only reason, why Cleveland won 112-103. The reason you got to say it's not the only reason, don't tell me it's not a factor. They made 4 more triples. That's a factor. Their big-time player rose to the proverbial occasion. That's part of the reason, okay? James Harden had 2 dozen. He played better. He's played better over the last 2 games. How many people buried James Harden? Okay. Evan Mobley played better. So, yeah, their big-time players were better than Detroit's big-time players. Harden, by the way, had a double-double because he had 11 assists.
Yeah, he set the tone last night to start the game for sure. The way he came
really
out
did.
was
only
really
had
good.
2 turnovers too, Andy.
Yeah,
2 turns.
no doubt.
Okay. At what point in his career was a superstar? No, just kidding. So you've got those are all. Don't tell me that the free throw discrepancy isn't part of the reason. I'm not saying it's the only reason. That's an excuse. You don't do that. But it's part of the compilation, don't you think? If not, you're crazy. You've got to think about it this time. Shep, in Detroit, they have so many fanboy hosts and ones who cover teams, maybe even call games a little bit. There are probably more today than there has ever been. Rarely do you find, I'm going to date myself here, bad. Do you find a Joe Falls, Gene Guidi, Jerry Green, Mike O'Hara, Kurt Sylvester, guys who were professional but talked about the team in a very middle-of-the-road light? Because there are so many writers and opinion people and radio hosts and TV productions are bigger, there is a fear that you're going to upset an organization and you're not going to get yours. These are facts. All right. I wish there were more people willing to say, and you can say it professionally, because I don't think athletes care. I don't think coaches care. I think they want fairness. And they want you, if you're going to criticize them, to be available to receive their criticism the same. I've told this story before. I'll make it quick. I was calling the Tigers in 2019. Boston was in town. They'd beaten Detroit rather handily. We, in our open, talked more about the Red Sox than we did the Tigers because the Tigers weren't very good. I was making the rounds in the clubhouse, and I do that on purpose because I wanted players to see me in case they had an issue with something I've said. I know damn well they watched. I know damn well they listened, and I know damn well that their family does the same. And they don't always get the right information from their family. One of the relievers was criticizing me for how I talked about Boston. And I said, they just beat you by a final score of whatever it was. They have been better than you have. I have 2 ways to go about it. I can rip on you or I can talk about them, and I chose to talk about them. I said, and by the way, I've also given this part of your team credit and this part of your team credit, but you don't remember that, do you? You remember the negative parts. They're no different than you and I. A lot of that happens. You as a fan, remember the negative things, probably more so than the positive things. That player then said, well, yeah, and when the Angels were in town, All you did was talk about Trout. I said, no, that's not true. We talked about Trout in game 1 because he's the best player on earth. And I'm not doing an audience justice if I don't talk about him. I said, but I'm hoping you also noted that in game 2, we mentioned how you guys shut him down on an 0-for-4 night. Oh, you don't remember that, do you? And I just stood there. He had no comeback whatsoever. You couldn't. You have to be fair. Otherwise, the audience, more oftentimes than not, and perhaps it's changed a little bit over the last couple of years, recognizes it. Shep, if, let's see, Bill Parcells, Scotty Bowman have guys that believed by calling them out so they can figure it out and they can get better or fail. Yes, I don't disagree with that. Those are my kinds of coaches. Nick Saban, my kind of coach. I agree with that. Unfortunately, it's different today. That's just the way it is. And by the way, using a hockey coach and a basketball coach are polar opposites. You can't do that. Using a football coach and a basketball coach is not a good example. Give me the NBA coaches who've called their players out. Don't give me a hockey coach. Completely different. Scotty Bowman and JB Bickerstaff had different roles. Bowman had rings. Bickerstaff doesn't. I'm talking about before he got to Detroit. He had rings. He can call out players because he's got a list of 25 guys from which to choose. Bickerstaff doesn't. I'm not making excuses for it. I'm just telling you the difference. Bill Parcells can do that. He had Jumbo Elliott and Pepper Johnson in his locker room who patrolled the locker room for him. What's the fine line between players running this team and a coach? How about players calling them out? The kid called himself out. I've got to be better. Doesn't mean much to you. Sure doesn't help from game 4, and I'm with you on that. But does JB Bickerstaff really need to call him out when he's calling himself out? Why is that so needed by you? Shep, if Dern continues to have a bad playoff and/or the team is out next year, he goes and has the same season. He had a regular season that doesn't tell you anything. If they re-sign him, that tells me the GM is clueless. Shep, regarding Riley Green, AJ benched him in the playoffs. He pinch hit for him. He didn't bench him. There's a huge difference. There's a massive difference. Guys have been pinch hit for. Guys have been benched. I mean, Castellanos, it's happened. Jazz Chisholm, it's happened. Kyle Tucker, it happened. O'Neal Cruz, not in the playoffs, but Blake Snell was pulled by Kevin Cash in a World Series game. Is that the same thing because he didn't like the matchup? How's that any different? And I thought it was a wrong move. How's that any different than A.J. Hinch pinch hitting for Riley Green? Remember this. I mean, you want to get stuck on that, that's fine. Last year, Riley Green, ready? At bat plate appearances in every playoff game. 4, 3, 5, 5, 4, 3, 4, 7. He's not getting benched. He was pinch hit for. I forget exactly which game that was, but he was pinch hit for. It's the first and only time that's happened. He bats against lefties all the time. Because people complain, how come Kerry Carpenter doesn't bat against lefties? I'll tell you why. Because Kerry Carpenter's numbers against lefties are terrible, and Riley Green's are very respectable. Fall back on that if you'd like. That you take aim at Riley Green because he was benched. The word benched is inappropriate. He was pinch hit for, okay? This is a guy who was in the starting lineup every single day. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. The text line is Sports Radio 21,000. About an hour from now, Hunter Patterson with The Athletic joins us to talk Pistons hoops here on X's and Bros, brought to you by Meyer.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
If you're the largest selling comedy recording artist in history,
You might be a redneck.
Jeff Foxworthy, Friday, June 12th, inside the Soaring Eagle Entertainment Hall.
Our parents can't text and our children can't write.
Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office and online at etix.com. Laugh it up at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, Friday, June 12th with Jeff Foxworthy.
My father-in-law got his chest hair caught in his zipper.
SoaringEagleCasino.com.
How would you like to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in Michigan? Well, you can get a huge deal and also get the biggest TV at your local ABC warehouse store. You can shop online right now at abcwarehouse.com. They have locations all across Michigan. So if you want to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in your neighborhood, go to your local ABC warehouse store or shop online at abcwarehouse.com.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sports Net. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sports Net Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
All right, good conversation all morning long on the Pistons for the most part. It's going to continue when we get to 8:35 with Hunter Patterson. Let's step aside for just a moment. Just real quick, not that these are the Bible by any stretch. CBS Sports put out their latest MLB rankings. Knowing how the Tigers have been sliding a little bit, where do you think the power ranking would be for Detroit? What would be appropriate, you think, Andy, for
if I had to guess, I'd
ranked?
probably they were in the top 10. I guess they dropped like 16 maybe right now. I don't know.
Close. 18 is where they're at. They're down 7. Again, it's one website. It's their opinion. I will say this, though. This is part of the reason Andy, I think, thought that they were worth judging after 40 games. Some could argue they're not because they're not fully healthy. I don't know if they'll ever be healthy all season long. I know Justin Verlander's on the 60-day IL, and I sure don't panic about those types of things by any stretch. But I mean, who's to say he's coming off it? Anyway, I saw this from a website yesterday. There's one team that is currently on pace to win 100 games, and that's the Atlanta Braves. Or 110 wins, I'm sorry. Tampa, the Cubs, Yankees, and Atlanta are on pace to win 100 games. Teams that are on pace to win 90 games: Dodgers, Padres, Brewers, Cardinals, Pirates, and Reds. A team on pace to win 80 games is the A's. A team on pace to have 80 or more losses, the Tigers are in that mix. A lot of things can change. Health is a big deal. I know we like to think it's next man up. Next man up usually works for a couple of guys. When you have 17 on the IL, that's a bit of a problem.
No, if we're going to talk all morning about the free throw discrepancy and the people want to point to that for the Pistons last night, you got to look at the Tigers, the people they got in the IL right now. You can't ignore that.
You can't. With that said, as I mentioned yesterday, when you look at the IL, besides Mize and Scooble, which guy do you need back more than anybody else? Look, you already knew Reese Olson, Troy Melton, Jackson Jobe were all going to be on the IL. That's not a surprise to you, okay? So really, take 17 down to 13. People complain constantly about Parker Meadows. All right? So suddenly you go down 4, you're down to 13. We already mentioned Scooble and Mize. Now you're down to 11. Of the 11 guys left, Will Vest, Gleyber Torres, Javier Baez, who are the guys you have to have back? Because I hate to tell people this, fair or unfair, this is my belief. This team hasn't changed much. It's not like they're a completely different team from the last year. There was one additional guy from last year to this year, Kevin McGonigal. That's it. So when you try to tell me, well, injuries are a big part of it, well, I'm not going to disagree with you, but injuries to a certain number of guys. Don't give me the total number, because a lot of those guys, A, you weren't expecting back by this time already, and B, at least one of them you didn't want back. You were hoping that a guy like Parker Meadows would be, sent down to the minors. So who is it that's injured that you feel you got to have it? Stop with Justin Verlander. He had one start. Who's the guy who's missing the most?
No, I mean, what you said about Mize and Scooble, I mean, that's that's two guys, I feel like, because the thing is they didn't change this roster that much. That is probably part of the problem.
Right.
And you're going to rely on those guys a lot to stop losing streaks for you or build winning streaks. And then not have them in your starting rotation does matter a lot, I feel like. But I will say, again, I think Javier Baez and Gleyber Torres to this team do matter a lot. So not having those two in there also hurts right now. I mean,
Yeah,
how
fair
you leave
enough.
every
Do you
night,
think
like, that's
And they're probably they're going to help school for sure. And Mize, they're the difference between being under 500 and being over 500. I don't think any of them, even if they were all healthy, pushes this team into the discussion of 90 plus wins.
No, they haven't shown that yet.
And a division champion for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you saw this yesterday. This is really interesting. The Giants put out some pretty good material on draft day. John Harbaugh in there in that draft room and talking about various things and how they're calling Arvell Reese and Francis Maioa and all these other guys, right? And how much fun it is. So they put the video out that also shows a discussion with a team about trading. And in all fairness, it sure looked like it was the Lions. The Lions were reading into this now, wanting to move up to try and secure Derek Moore, who they just signed to a 4-year contract. All right. So the Giants had to they had a chance to move from 37 back to 41 for Cincinnati, 37 to 42 for the Saints in the second round. These are all, they're using numbers. That's what you and I use, rounds. NFL teams, you know what they do? They use numbers. They don't look at rounds. They look at the number on where your draft pick is being taken. Okay. So they had a chance to do that with Cincinnati and New Orleans and chose to pass. And let's face it, you and I both know that New Orleans and Cincinnati were in need of pass rushers. And quite honestly, Cincinnati got one in Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M with the 9th overall pick in the second round. Followed that up, New Orleans did with Christian Miller. He's a defensive tackle. So Detroit was apparently going to offer the Giants picks 118, a 4th, 128, a 4th, and pick number 157, a 5th, to move from 50 to 37. Now, they ended up moving to 44, but that's what they were going to offer. Wow. That would have been way too much. Now, the Lions, in other words, the Giants would have gotten the 50th pick, so a second round pick, 2 4ths, and a 5th, just to move up to 37 to what most people believe is to take Derek Moore. The Giants were locked in on Colton Hood. Colton Hood is the cornerback out of Tennessee. Thank goodness that did not go through. Otherwise, Detroit would not have been able to get Jimmy Rolder. And I know how some people feel about Jimmy Rolder. He's a good player. I don't think he's going to be the second coming of Mike Singletary, but he's a good player. And they wouldn't have gotten Keith Abney, who by all accounts, if you read every single draft and post-draft analysis, and they love to break down certain categories, and who doesn't? You and I do too. One of the categories is biggest steal. In other words, the guy who went later than originally thought. Everybody mentions Keith Abney.
Yeah, I haven't heard one person make a bad mark about that because I don't think it's possible based off everything written about him.
Right. So think about that, man. Does that tell you more or less about Brad Holmes, that he was willing to give up that much to get one guy? Now, I'm assuming, let me just clarify this. I'm assuming it was for Derek Moore. It's not for Zion Young because he could have taken Zion Young with the 12th pick in that round. He chose Derek Moore over Zion Young. Could have been Cassius Howell. I don't think so. The guys he would have missed on, that doesn't mean this is how the Lions have him ranked. Traden Stukes, he's a safety out of Arizona. He went 6th in the second round. Okay. So 38. Denzel Boston, a wide receiver out of Washington, to Cleveland. Don't think Detroit was going to target him. Are Mason Thomas, the undersized edge rusher out of Oklahoma, who went to Kansas City, then Cassius Howell, then Kristen Miller, then Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker out of Texas Tech. Any of those guys move your needle more than Derek Moore? Perhaps for some. I don't think any of that would have been worth it for any of those players after seeing what Detroit was able to do with that type of draft capital. Brad Holmes' willingness. Now, he didn't do it. But I can't help but wonder, what if the ask wasn't as great as it was? What if it was for one of the fourths instead of two? In other words, what if they were willing to give up the 50th, which would have been, their second round pick, 1/4 and 1/5 to get to 37? You still miss out on one of your players. So thank goodness that they didn't do that. Very happy about that, because I would have been, that's a lot to give up. Here's another kind of a weird thing. ESPN put out an article on what each team's biggest roster hole is. If I asked you that without reading this article, what would you say is the biggest hole?
Still on their team currently right now?
Yeah,
Like,
on the Lions team right now, where is the biggest hole?
I would guess they'd probably still say the secondary based off like injuries and stuff, but
so that's what I would say. I would say safety specifically. And the only reason I say that is because both the safeties are hurt. I don't know if Dan Jackson can play that role. I don't know, he was a 7th round pick last year. I don't know who your starting safeties are right now.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why it has to be to me. But
so could you say, is it fair to say that that's considered at least a big need? I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how you couldn't, looking at the Lions roster. Yeah,
because if you're trying to tell me that Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph are injured, me gravitating and embracing Chuck Clark and Avonte Maddox, or Dan Jackson and Thomas Harper, or Lauren Strickland scares the hell out of me. I think it's a big hole. ESPN puts out this article that says their biggest hole is right guard. What? So it made me think, okay, I got to read this. How are you coming up with right guard after Tate Ratledge had what I would consider a decent year as a rookie right guard, especially playing next to the biggest hole in that offensive line, the center position a year ago, that has now been fixed by Cade Mays. They write, this isn't a hole the Lions are going to try to plug because they're counting on improvement from 2025 second-round pick Tate Ratledge. However, he was a real weakness last season. His pass block win rate of 87.5% ranked 63rd out of 65 qualifying guards, and his run block win rate was 70%, a little bit below average. I would guess the left guard is in worse shape and a bigger hole than the right guard, but I would say safety over every other position. At least at left guard, you've got guys who can compete for it. And that tells you, sure, some people may read that as, well, that's a bit of a hole. If you don't have one, do you really have any? If you don't have one sure guy and you've got a bunch of guys competing for it, do you have any? I think it's a good thing to have competition. I don't want it at every single position, but every team in the National Football League goes into training camp with at least one position where there is competition. Somebody's going to step forward and surprise you, right? So you have Mahogany, you have Frazier, you have Juice Scruggs, you have guys who are going to compete for that position. There's plenty of guys, and even if you wanted a right guard guy, I'm not going to sit there and say Colby Sorsdale, but you do have some other guys who are going to be available. Ben Barch, who they recently signed, those guys are going to be in that mix, and they can back up either guard position. Like Barch can back up either guard, Juice Scruggs can back up either guard, Miles Frazier could back up either guard. I was stunned to read the right guard situation because Tate Ratledge was a starter he's a starter from day one. And I think he's going to be a good player. I really do. I'm not sure he's going to make you forget some of the best right guards in recent memory or guards in recent memory. I'm not saying he's the second coming of Zach Martin, who played left guard for the Dallas Cowboys, but I think he's going to be a very steady player and a consistent player for this team. I was really surprised to hear that. Really surprised. The other thing that I noticed yesterday regarding football is the Cleveland quarterback room that now includes Taylon Green, who was a 6th-round pick out of Arkansas, is a big kid, super athletic, but I said, isn't a Lions guy because he had 37 turnovers in the last 2 seasons there at Arkansas. But when you look at it and you see that Taylon Green joins a quarterback room of Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson, just to name a couple, there are and Gabriel, right? Why did I forget his name? What's the other quarterback? Dylan Gabriel, right? So you've got 4 quarterbacks. You're not taking 4 Qs, right? A lot of teams don't even take 3. I don't think you'd be able to hide Taylon Green on your practice squad. Answer me this. If any of those 4 guys were cut, Andy, would you want the Lions to jump in on that? Any of those quarterbacks?
Not like desperately, I guess, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. Depends what they were asking for, it feels like.
Well, no, I mean, if they were cut. I said if they were cut, would you want them to get in on any of those quarterbacks? Remember, they signed Luke Altmaier from Illinois as an undrafted free agent. So your quarterback room, Jared Goff, Teddy Bridgewater, Altmaier from Illinois, would you want a 4th to come in and compete?
I mean, yeah, I guess. Why would you not want a 4th to come in and compete? At that
They're not
point?
cutting Shedeur Sanders. He started games last year. It's really between him and Deshaun Watson. No one's picking up Deshaun Watson. So if Dylan Gabriel or Taylon Green were waived by Cleveland. Now, remember, they would get cut later in camp. Camp is a little bit shorter these days. Well, from a preseason standpoint, you're only playing 2 preseason games, right? You're only playing 2 when it used to be 3.
Yeah, they changed
and
that.
before that was 4. Right, they changed that. I believe they've changed it, or are they changing it to 2 when they play 18 games? I forget the rules.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. I thought they were changing it to 2, but
I thought they were changing it to 2 as well. I've got to get some clarification on that. Like I said, I'm all for competition. I'm not sold on Teddy Bridgewater. If you brought in a guy to see if he could quickly adjust and then maybe sneak him on the practice squad, I would definitely take a look at one of those guys, either Gabriel or Taylon Green, even though I'm not sold on either one because I'm not sold on Teddy Bridgewater either. I think it's an issue for the Lions. The backup quarterback spot is still an issue. Quick timeout. We're brought to you by Meijer here on a Tuesday morning, 8:35. Hunter Patterson for The Athletic joins us. Stay with us.
The stock market goes up and then it goes down. It's fine while you're saving for retirement, but as you get closer to retirement, it can cause stress. Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. In my NFL days, this season could be a real roller coaster and a lot of fun, but roller coasters in retirement aren't as much fun. Do world events have you wondering if your retirement is safe? Will your money last even if the stock market were to take a dive? Have you had your retirement account stress tested to see what kind of risk you're actually taking? Let's not leave your retirement to chance. Hope is not a plan. Contact the pros at Mitch Lyons Wealth today and put us to work for you. Let's ensure your plan works even if the stock market doesn't. Text PLAN, P-L-A-N, to 844-867-8335. That's PLAN to 844-867-8335. MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. Investment advisory services are offered through MLW Advisory Services, LLC, DBA Mitch Lyons Wealth, a registered investment advisor.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community. just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Now, Josh oversees the West Michigan operations. Dorn Mayhew's worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are one of the top accounting, CPA, and business firms in the world. They continue to grow. They can help your business with any accounting, CPA, or business need you have. And also Dorn Mayhew and Josh and the West Michigan operation, they present Talking Hoops with John Beeline. We do it every Tuesday on the Huge Show through the NBA Finals. So how far will the Pistons go in the playoffs? You can hear Coach Beeline, Josh Garvey, and myself every Tuesday on the Huge Show as we talk hoops, presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew. Josh Garvey oversees the West Michigan operation. Their worldwide headquarters for Dorn Mayhew are in Troy, Michigan.
It's a good question via text. If Brad Holmes made that trade, how much did he really value Abney, or is he really a steal anymore? I think he is. I think it's just, I look at it like he really valued Derek Moore or whoever he was trying to get at 37 by possibly trading up. If indeed that's the team, it sure seems like it would be the team. I don't think it's unfair to assume, even though the Giants didn't say as much, that they were willing to give up. That's the team. I mean, this is where Detroit was. They're the ones that had those numbers, and the Giants were talking about it. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday. Glad you're with us, whether it be on our outstanding station affiliates throughout the great state of Michigan or streaming live on YouTube, X, and on Facebook. You can always call us, too. The Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. Text the program, Sports Radio 21,000. I had mentioned that so obviously you know this by now, that the Pistons lost last night to Cleveland. So the series is tied at 2 apiece. Detroit getting to the line as just 12 times to Cleveland's 34 is stunning. Donovan Mitchell scoring 43 points, including an NBA playoff record-tying 39 in the second half. Most points scored in a half in NBA playoff history. Mitchell with 39, Eric Sleepy Floyd with Houston with 39, Charles Barkley with 38, Kevin Durant with 38. Game 5 is tomorrow at Little Caesars Arena. OKC finished off the Lakers. They swept them with a 115-110 win. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander at 35. So the Thunder are 8-0 in the postseason. They're sitting and waiting the winner of that Minnesota-San Antonio series. The Knicks are waiting in the Eastern Conference Finals. Perhaps they're giggling a little bit. That's probably concerning a lot of Pistons fans. I don't know how to look at that, to be honest with you. Because in 2006, everybody, when the Tigers clinched before the Cardinals did to the World Series, everybody thought, yes, we get a chance to rest. It was awful for them. You don't want that. Athletes like rhythm. Why do you think golfers get pissed off for having to wait for so long? So they've got that rhythm, right? That's how Andy's going to be later on today in his league. He's going to be pissed off if he's not playing fast. I get it.
Gets in your head.
Yeah.
That
Lions have
easily.
signed both Derek Moore and Kendrick Law. Who's the lone rookie yet to sign for the Lions? You know who it is?
I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Blake Miller.
Oh, okay.
He hasn't signed it.
Guess I just would have assumed.
Yeah. Tigers are in New York to battle the Mets. It's Jack Flaherty. Sorry. Every time you hear Jack Flaherty, you kind of scream, against Freddie Peralta. NHL, Avs beat up the Wild 5-2. Colorado's the best team in hockey. I would love to see Colorado play Carolina. A lot of people want to see the speed of Montreal. I get that, because Montreal played Carolina really tough. Carolina's really good. I think they're big. They're physical. I had a debate with a friend of mine last night. How much do you take into account the regular season? Montreal was really good against Carolina during the regular season. Hold on. If you're not going to give credit where the Pistons were really good against the Knicks during the regular season, because it's different. If you think the playoffs are different, don't feed me regular season numbers, right? But the Avs are up 3-1. They're not there yet. They are 33-2 all time when leading the series 3-1. They were down. Minnesota scored first. Here's the Mitch Lions Wealth poll question. What does J.B. Bickerstaff do with Jalen Duren? Have him come off the bench. Don't play him at all. Keep starting him, but play your fewer minutes. You can vote as often as you want at XB Mornings. We give you the results in the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. And just a reminder, again, Hunter Patterson coming up at 80:35. Speaking of basketball, by the way, somebody tweeted this out yesterday. Joel Embiid is the only NBA MVP in history to never reach the conference finals. Not the NBA finals, the conference finals. Yikes. I did notice this yesterday, and I wonder if you read anything about it. The Tarek Skubal situation. Have you noticed this? That Scott Boras has come out. I suppose I should also mention, before I get to that, I should also mention the Lions' schedule. Okay, they're going to face a lot of new faces. So they're going to play Thursday Night Football in week 2 against Buffalo, and they open things up for Buffalo's new stadium. They're going to play in Germany. We know that, in the middle of November, right? I think, don't know who they're playing yet. I had a buddy of mine stop me on the street yesterday and say, "Hey, me and my wife want to go to Germany. Can you help us get tickets?" I'm like, "You're going to go to Germany?" "Yeah, to watch the Lions." "Okay, way to go. Go for it. We'll see what we can do." But the rest of the schedule, the schedule release is Thursday. It's all speculation other than the Lions at the Bills that we know of. And we know they're going to Germany.
Yeah, you brought up that top 10 list yesterday of like the games that people were talking about.
Yeah.
I think in the past that Bills and Lions game would have definitely been like no matter what in that top 10. I feel
in
like
the past,
like the last couple of years. I think so too. That's what I'm saying. Like it's surprising to me that that's not in there.
Yeah, me too. And the reason I say that is because of what these two teams have done in the last two meetings. I know there's different personnel and different coaches. In 2022, Buffalo beat Detroit by a field goal. There were 727 total yards, Andy. In 2024, Buffalo beat Detroit by 6. There was 1,080 total yards in that game.
Yeah, man, the points were great. I don't understand why that game wouldn't be considered good. I mean, just because the Lions didn't make the playoffs last year, you're going to tell me that they like teams never have that kind of year. I don't get it. I don't understand why it's not.
I don't either. I don't either. It's very odd, but it's just one website, NFL.com. Their opinion. Okay, so kind of a little strange if you ask me. But anyway. Let me get to this really quick, and then we're going to get to the results of our poll question, and we'll get to the daily wager that Andy had, and I believe he won, but I don't want to steal his thunder.
I didn't win.
Oh, you didn't win? Okay,
no, Tobias had 14 at halftime, and then he didn't get to 18 and a half in the second half. He didn't score, I don't think. So
yeah, I thought he got to 16.
He may have scored once in the second half, but yeah, he needed to get to 19 points for me to.
He needed to get to 19,
and he had 14 and a half, and I'm feeling good about it. So I'm off to a heck of a start, Shep.
Yeah, so he had 16. All right, we'll get to that coming up. Brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. But we noticed that, and the Lions are going to face some brand new faces. Falcons, Kevin Stefanski. Arizona's got Mike LaFleur. Buffalo's got Joe Brady. Miami's got Jeff Hafley. Giants with John Harbaugh. Robert Saleh is in Tennessee. All right. 6 opponents with first-year head coaches for those organizations. Not that they're all first year. Another 4 with second-year head coaches, which, again, the year associated with the name is not fair. John Harbaugh is not a first-year head coach. He is a first year with the Giants. Kevin Stefanski is not a first-year head coach, nor is Robert Saleh, but they are respectively for the Falcons and the Titans. Okay. In total, 64% of the Lions' schedule will come against teams that are led by first or second-year coaches at that team, for what that's worth. All right. So let me get to this real quick regarding Tarek Skubal. You've noticed, and it was great news. We all sat back and we took a big sigh of relief that in all likelihood, he's not going to be out 3 to 4 months. It's going to be more like 4 to 6 weeks because there was very little loose bone, loose bodies is what they call them, in his elbow. And the surgery went really well. I'm sure you've noticed who is telling everybody and their brother about that. Who is it?
Scott Boras.
Right. Do you believe Scott Boras?
It's a tough thing to believe. I don't know. I don't want to put the credibility in this either because I don't really know for sure. Maybe you know it, but I heard from somebody yesterday that it's the same guy that did the surgery on Tom Brady, something like that. But I guess I have to look into it to know for sure.
Well, either way, it makes you wonder just a little bit. And it makes you wonder because, let's face it, you and I both know that a massive contract is on the line. This is called what? Damage control. Agents aren't just lawyers in a courtroom fighting for arbitration for their client and fighting for a new contract. They have a massive PR firm that does damage control. This is that damage control. He wants his client to get the $400 million or whatever it may be when all is said and done. It's less likely to get that when you've had 3 elbow surgeries or 3 arm surgeries. We'll talk a little bit more about that on the other side. Quick timeout, 8:35, Hunter Patterson from The Athletic, here on X's and Bros, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
In the den.
It's a new day to celebrate and be free. It's a new day full of action and excitement because it's a new day for winning. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, your getaway reimagined. This is Matt Shepard. The Tigers open up the series in New York against the Mets tonight. The Mets are a really good example, and the Tigers actually fall in line with this as well this season. Is spending money doesn't guarantee anything. New York's National League team has a payroll of over $327 million, more than any team in baseball, and yet they own the fewest wins in the game, 15. Their 6 home wins are fewest in the majors as well. They had the highest payroll last year, too, yet failed to make the playoffs. In fact, of the top 10 spending teams in the major leagues, half of them have losing records, and only 3 are leading their divisions: Atlanta, San Diego, and the Cubs. See, it's not about how much you spend, it's instead where the finances go. Right now, the Tigers have more money in the 17 players on their IL than the entire payrolls of Cleveland, Minnesota, and Chicago.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sports Net. Sign up like the Huge Show did with the Detroit Sports Net Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the Huge Show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
After the hour, again, bottom of the hour, Hunter Patterson joins us here on X's and Bros. We'll get to the final results of our poll question from yesterday. And we will also get to our daily wager that Andy delivers on a daily basis, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. First, let's play a little game here. We're talking about the NFL. You've got 32 head coaches in the NFL. A number of them are new to their teams, and a number of them are new to the league in general, thanks to Jeff Hafley and Joe Brady and Clint Kubiak and the like. I don't want to go through all 32, but you and I will do 10. Give me, if we had to draft head coaches in the National Football League, you have to draft them, okay? We'll do a snake system. We'll do it to 10, all right?
So we're both picking 5.
I'm gonna my first round pick, then you're gonna get the second and third, and then I'm gonna get the fourth and fifth, and we're gonna get to 5 coaches aside. Okay? So you should have 10 coaches ranked. You ready?
Sounds good.
All right. Andy Reid for me is the first one off the board.
That's your first pick overall. Okay. I would go Sean McVay, just like the list. That would be my first pick.
Okay. And who would be your it's a snake system. So you get 2 and 3, or you get 2 and 3.
I would then take Kyle Shanahan for the offense.
Kyle Shanahan. Okay. I had him 5th. All right. Now I get the next 2. That means I'm going to get Mike McDonald in Seattle and Sean Payton. So I have 3 coaches so far. You have 2. You're up next.
Yeah, one of
the
mine
next
there.
2. Yeah.
I would, I feel crazy saying Mike Vrabel right now. Can we take out all the stuff going on with that, or is that not possible?
I think you get the person, but I understand why you would take Vrabel.
Yeah,
he's a really good football coach.
Coaching wise, I would take Mike Vrabel. I want to be clear there. And then do I get to pick again after that?
You do.
I would take Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh.
Yep.
Okay.
After that.
So so far you have 4 coaches. You have Sean McVay, you have Kyle Shanahan, you have Mike Vrabel, and Jim Harbaugh. I have 3 coaches. I have Andy Reid, Mike McDonald, Sean Payton. My next 2 are Dan Campbell and John Harbaugh. You've got 1 left.
I would go Kevin O'Connell. You didn't take.
Sure you would.
Okay. Yep.
Right. Okay. So your 10 are the same as my 10, just in a different order. I ranked Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Mike McDonald, Sean Payton, Kyle Shanahan, Dan Campbell, John Harbaugh, Kevin O'Connell, Mike Vrabel, Jim Harbaugh. That's how I went. I thought about Matt LaFleur, didn't go there. I do think Jesse Minter will be a good coach, but he's brand new to the position. So I can't say that it would necessarily be top 10. Let's do the final results of the poll question before we get to Hunter Patterson, and let's do the daily wager. Now, the poll question from yesterday was this. We have them for you every single day. How much does streaming sports bother you? I think it bothers a lot of people. I guess a better question is, what are you doing about it? Anyway, how much does streaming sports bother you? Not at all. It's starting to concern me, or I can't afford all the apps. You got to have plenty of them.
Oh, a bunch of them. Yeah. 0% at not at all. So it's definitely bugging people. So nobody voted for that. 70% won the vote with it's concerning. So yeah, it's definitely starting to concern people, the fact that you have to have all these different things just to watch games. I can tell you, I definitely don't have all of them because I just can't afford that. So that's the way that it goes.
Yeah, think about it. There were some people who missed the Pistons game not too long ago because of the Scripps battle with Xfinity. You try to go to the app and they couldn't get the game. I mean, they were super frustrated. Now, the obvious answer to that would be go to a bar and watch it. But, you know, why should I tell people that they want to be in their home?
Yeah, exactly. And you still have to go spend money in that situation, even if you don't want to. So it's tough, man. It's then I can't afford the apps was 30%. So yeah, that's part of it too.
All right, let's get to the daily wager. The daily wager is brought to you by our friends at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, and sportsbook Ascend. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it is a phenomenal place to go get a really good burger, spend some time watching games with friends. You can go watch the Tigers tonight as the Tigers take on the Mets. It's a perfect place to go do it. And then tomorrow you can go back and watch the Pistons play. You've got more games taking place tonight in the NBA and the NHL as well. So Ascend is a perfect place for it. And this is where Andy gives you his thoughts on what is going to happen in the night of sports and the Daily Wager, and bet you can bet either with him or bet against him. What was the bet last night, and what do you have for us tonight?
Well, it was Tobias Harris last night, and I was feeling pretty good going into halftime with 14 points. The end of the game was 16. He shot 6 of 17 from the field, and the first half he was playing like he was the rest of the series. So, yeah, not off to my best start just because of that, I feel like. But tonight I'm going to go with the guy that everybody is kind of talking about not getting suspended for a game. I'm going to go with Wemby getting 14 rebounds because I like the value. He's gotten 15.
14.
He's gotten 15 the last 3 games that he's actually played in. He was obviously thrown out of the last games that you can kind of throw that out the window. In the limited minutes he played, he had 4, and in the last 4 games he's hit that line. So I like it to continue the trend, and you get good value at it. It's plus 109 on DraftKings. So
the league said there will be no added punishment to Victor Wembanyama.
Yep, that's the I think that's why I said like I'm kind of going with the villain there because everybody wanted to kind of see that happen, but I can't deny what he's doing, and I think he's going to want to kind of shut everybody up. So I like him to keep putting up the stats that he has been putting up.
Yeah, in case people didn't know, he was whistled for an offensive foul. He threw an elbow at Naz Reid in Game 4. As soon as it hit Reid, I mean, everybody swarmed and everybody knew what was going to happen. I mean, it had to happen, right? Referee Zach Zarba announced the call and upgraded it to a flagrant foul 2 for excessive contact. And that means there's an automatic ejection. Okay. So he kept asking people on the bench, what does that mean? Usually that's associated with a fine and a heavy fine. When the league says there is going to be no more further discipline, does that mean you think there's no fine associated with it? I don't know, man. I mean, if there isn't, that the league is starting to play favorites, and that's just not cool.
Yeah, that feels like that's just making a decision based on you. Everybody wants to still see him play in the playoffs, so it's just
exactly
right. That's what it feels like.
What's the daily wager tonight?
So it's 14. It's 14 rebounds.
Okay.
He has to get like he can get more than 14, but yeah, 14 is plus 109. So
14 or more.
Yep,
is what you're looking for. 14 or more. All right, that's the daily wager brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. I did see this. Total Pro Sports put this out, and I want to know if you're part of it or not. 74% of NFL fans thinks the league is rigged. 74%. The National Football League obviously has a perception problem, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with those numbers. So
okay. If I said to you that it's 74% for the league, and I think a lot of it has to do with the Kansas City Chiefs, do you think another league is more rigged? I mean, when you hear Donovan Mitchell say what he said, and then suddenly things turn, don't you think that raises an eyebrow or two? I think so. We're going to talk with Hunter Patterson about the free throw discrepancy, about some of the other players and who's not playing well and why, specifically Jalen Duren. He joins us on the other side here on X's and Bros on a Tuesday morning, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Huge here for the incredible Crystal Mountain Resort. Now they're located in Thompsonville, Michigan, about 2 hours, 25 minutes or so northwest of GR. They offer up 36 holes of championship golf, including Mountain Ridge, which was named the 2025 Michigan Course of the Year and is home to the Michigan Women's Open the last 24 years. And if you're looking for plans for Memorial Day weekend, they got a huge deal. Stay 2 nights, get the third one free. You must book by May 13th. Golf, spa, hiking, biking, Art Park, they're all open now, but the rest of the summer activities kick off Memorial Day weekend with the 19th annual Michigan Beer and Brat Festival at Crystal Mountain. More details at crystalmountain.com. They got spa days coming up, one of the top spas in Michigan. See for yourself what they offer. Go to crystalmountain.com. That is crystalmountain.com and plan your getaway. Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Now, Josh oversees the West Michigan operations. Dorn Mayhew's worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are one of the top accounting, CPA, and business firms in the world. They continue to grow. They can help your business with any accounting, CPA, or business need you have. And also Dorn Mayhew and Josh and the West Michigan operation, they present Talking Hoops with John Beeline. We do it every Tuesday on the Huge Show through the NBA Finals. So how far will the Pistons go in the playoffs? You can hear Coach Beeline, Josh Garvey, and myself every Tuesday on the Huge Show as we talk hoops, presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew. Josh Garvey oversees the West Michigan operation. Their worldwide headquarters for Dorn Mayhew are in Troy, Michigan.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sportsnet. Sign up like the Huge Show did with the Detroit Sportsnet Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
I mean, I've seen all these things before. I've struggled against these things before, and I've succeeded against these things before. So really, it's just about clearing my mind and being better as a point guard. You know, I pride myself in making sure my team has the best point guard on the floor. I didn't do a great job of that tonight, but you know, I'm excited about the challenge coming forward, and you know, getting us organized and making sure that everybody is comfortable and in the spots and knowing what to do.
Well, that's Cade Cunningham talking to Hunter Patterson following the game last night and the loss to the Cavs to now equal the series up 2 games aside. Hunter Patterson was in Cleveland. He kept you up to speed and up to date on all the quotes and the game. I mean, if you couldn't watch the game, you can just follow him on Twitter at Hunter Patterson, and you'll know exactly what's going on. He joins us here on an early morning, and we appreciate it very much. So there's a lot of differences in games. We get it, okay? And we'll get to certain personnel later because I know you get besieged by that. Overall, last night, what was the difference in the game in your mind?
Simply put, I would say Donovan Mitchell. I mean, he had his best game of the series, best game of the postseason, and he was really he helped force the turning point there in that third quarter, I would say.
Well, how much did Asar Thompson guard him, do you think?
He usually picks him up to start the game, but Asar unfortunately played himself off the floor just based on the turnovers that he had early on. He had about 4, and JB had a shorter leash with him last night.
You get this question constantly, and I know it gets old for you, and I don't blame you because basketball's a team sport, and there's plenty of blame to go around.
Mm-hmm.
But the focus is on Jalen Duren, who I like a lot, but has not played well in the postseason, and you've written about it. What do you think his biggest issue is right now?
Overthinking. I think he has all of the physical tools to be as effective as he was during the regular season. And at times, I mentioned this during the first round series against the Magic. It just looks like sometimes he's in his head and kind of complicating the game more than he needs to. I think he just needs to try to simplify things, and whether it's in DHOs and looking to get downhill a little bit more, or when he does choose to get downhill, just being a bit more patient and using the physical advantage he has with his 250 pounds over Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. I think he just looks to be thinking a bit too much, and he's going through the rigors of postseason basketball for the second time, but really the first time he was relied on to be a true impact player.
Yeah, the thing I like most about following and reading you is that you're not a knee-jerk reaction guy. The knee-jerk reaction right now is bench him. Don't play him.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that, okay? It's a fine line for a head coach to keep a player's confidence and do what's best for the team. Doing what's best for the team, though, in this series seems like it would be to play Paul Reed more, because not just because he's a fan favorite, because of his effectiveness. You can't deny the numbers when he plays. What do you think JB Bickerstaff will do, and what do you think he should do?
I mean, it's a great point, because Bickerstaff has mentioned a couple games ago just that he is coaching for the now, but he's coaching for the future as well. And I think he understands that the plan is to have this group around for the foreseeable future, really. And in order to do that, you have to let Duren take his lumps during the postseason to get him to be the player you want him to be when the time comes down the line in future postseason action. But Paul Reed's only averaging 14 minutes during the this is actually, regular season I was looking at, but Paul Reed's only averaging 7 minutes here during the postseason in his 6 games that he's played. He's been extremely effective in those minutes. And it's tough because they have a big man rotation that consists of JD, Stu, and then Paul Reed. And he's made the case for being the most effective of the 3 in the minutes that he's been given. So I think JD should try to find more minutes for Paul while also understanding that Duran is the big man of the future and the guy you want to help mold and just improve through these rough patches.
Hunter Patterson with The Athletic joining us here on X's and Bros. You can follow him on Twitter at Hunter Patterson in Cleveland for Game 4 last night and ready for Game 5 tomorrow night. We always hear about the cliche of adjustments and halftime adjustments. I thought Detroit did a really good job of the first half on Donovan Mitchell. What changed in the second half that allowed him to tie an NBA playoff record with 39 points and a half?
He just got a level of comfortability that allowed him to just start hunting the matchups I think that he wanted. And we saw Duncan try to step up and guard him. We saw Cade trying to guard him. And he felt he had the advantage over everyone who attempted to guard him. And to our point earlier about Asar not playing much, during that second half, he had a grand total of 10 minutes. So I think when Donovan's not seeing someone who's as physically gifted as Asar is, he's extremely quick, extremely shifty. He can get downhill with ease, and once he has the advantage getting downhill, he also is able to open the floor up for himself to knock down some threes. And I think that was essentially the bulk of it. So he just got rolling, and once you give someone with his talent that level of confidence, it's hard to slow him down.
Cade Cunningham is one of the best players in the world, period. Every player has holes in their game or an area in which they need to improve. I don't care if it was Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan. There were things they needed to do to improve to reach an even greater level. And the expectation should be that for those great players. It's almost as if you say something negative about Cade Cunningham and people think you hate him. I think it's just the opposite. It shows you how much you love him when you have such high expectations. What's the issue with the turnovers? Okay, because they're almost double per game average than what he had during the regular season. And how do you rectify it without having Dennis Jenkins take up a lot of minutes from somebody from the other starting 5 so he can handle the basketball?
Yeah, I think the issue is teams have identified that if you blitz him when he's looking to get downhill and you trap him at every opportunity in pick and roll actions, he doesn't have a ton of outlets. And we saw last night there were a couple of plays where he kicked it to Duran and the ball unfortunately just bounced off of Duran's hands and out of bounds.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with just the fact that teams are showing him bodies as often as possible. And there are the careless turnovers that Cade's mentioned he's had after Game 3. But one of the adjustments I think would just be it sounds extremely simple, but sometimes guys have to make shots and try to open up the floor and allow Cade space to operate. And he was 2 for 5 from 3 last night. He tried to open the floor as much as he could, but it's tough when Tobias has been playing really well. Yep. He only had 16 last night, 2 in the second half. But it is tough when you don't have a solidified number 2 and someone who is a knockdown shooter from 3 who can try to alleviate some of that pressure that teams are putting on him. So it's tough, but it may come down to him just being more decisive with his movements not allowing those careless turnovers, and just, I mean, sometimes it does really boil down to just being more careful with the ball.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not rushing. Sometimes I think he has a tendency to speed things up a little bit, and that could cause a problem. You know what one of the main storylines from last night, and that was free throw discrepancy. Donovan Mitchell, 15, had more free throw attempts than the Pistons as a team, 12. So, and do you think there's a couple of different ways I look at this? It's not a great look for the NBA when Donovan Mitchell whines publicly and suddenly gets the way he wanted.
Right.
JB Bickerstaff has come out and said something about it after last night's game. And on the other hand, look at the discrepancy of Detroit and Orlando in game 1 of that series. So I wasn't complaining then. Should I be able to complain last night? I thought last night was a pretty big discrepancy, especially for a team like Detroit that likes to get in the paint. Where am I off base there?
I don't really think you are off base. I mean, in the last 2 games since Kenny Atkinson he essentially said that the Pistons were making the most out of the way that the game had been officiated. And he did, to his credit, say that it's on him and the Cavs to be able to adjust to that. But since he did make those comments pregame, the Pistons have been called for 52 fouls in the last 2 games, and the Cavs have been called for 32. So, as JB and Cade both said last night, like, it's more than just the fouls. Like, they have to play better, and they have to be a team that's not putting the Cavs on the line more than they need to. But, I mean, there were some calls, I think, that got missed. At one point, I think it was to end the second quarter. Donovan Mitchell, like, he pulled Cade down as Cade was trying to get a 3 off. And as we all saw, Cade was pretty frustrated about that one. But, yeah, for a team that drives as much as they do, they put their head down and try to get to the paint. I think 52 fouls to 32 over the last 2 games is something that seems to be a bit unusual to me.
Especially for a team that, like you said, plays downhill as much as Detroit does, gets as many points as they do in the paint. And let's face it, I mean, they're the number 1 seed in the East. There's something to be said for that. I know people, I'm not using as the number 1 reason, but there's something to be said for it. Follow him on Twitter at Hunter Patterson. Hunter Patterson from The Athletic joining us here. What makes us believe that Detroit can respond after back-to-back games like this, do you think?
I'd say just the way that they've responded to adverse situations all year. It's a 3-game series now. They have 2 of them at home. And after being down 3-1, I think they understand the sense of urgency that they needed to have over these last 2, and that that's going to be required over these last 3. So it's a team that anytime you've maybe counted them out during the postseason, they proved that they're able to rise to the occasion. And some of that, to me, is just leaning back to the qualities that got them to this point, which is just being a more physically imposing team, being a more tenacious team, and being a team that ultimately is able to play defense at a level that we have not seen over the last 2 games. So I still think there's plenty of reason to be optimistic. The mood in the locker room last night was obviously frustrated, but I think that they're still a team that sees themselves as the better team between the 2.
What's your biggest concern for this team, and how do they rectify that for you, to your satisfaction?
I would say shot making. And although they shot 43% from 3 last night, 10 for 23. But when you have a future Hall of Famer, I was saying Harden, who's obviously past his prime at this point, and Donovan Mitchell, who's able to get a bucket with ease, as we saw last night, you do kind of have to match that firepower and Tobias is playing. He's been playing really well during this postseason. Cade's been playing well, but he still hasn't had a signature game, I would say, in this second round.
Mm-hmm.
So just being able to match the offensive firepower that the Cavs have, because clearly they can light it up when they get rolling. And it seems that happens, obviously, more often than not at home for them during this postseason. But just, I think the defense will return to form, especially at home. I think Pistons will probably get more calls to go their way in Game 5. So just having high-level shot making that down the stretch won't fail you.
Yeah, they shot 51% last night,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty cool. My frustration for them so far, and I don't know if it's correctable, Hunter, because I think it's a bad habit that teams have. But you've got 18 turnovers again last night, and
right.
that's an issue that we have seen this team fall into on more than one occasion. How many is too many? I mean, when I was calling Michigan basketball, 10 or fewer is what the goal was. It's fewer minutes and it's less likely. I think, if you're turning it over more than 12, 13 times, it's a problem. And Detroit has a tendency to play very loose with the basketball. That bothers me. Okay. I think you need to treasure the basketball. And I think they speed up too quickly. They've got to get back to who they are. And I'm confident they will tomorrow. And I know you'll be there, and we'll be following your tweets, and we'll be reading your articles in The Athletic. You do an outstanding job. And I mean that sincerely. Thanks for the time. I know it was a short turnaround for you, but man, you really help us educate us on Pistons and the NBA. Real quick, thoughts on Victor Wembanyama and the elbow thrown at Naz Reid. Are you surprised he only got the one game?
Not really, just because he's who he is. And I think when you factor in not really having a history of flagrant fouls, Wemby is just generally good for the NBA, I would say.
Okay.
So I figured he probably would be held to a different standard than most people, for better or worse. And I wasn't too surprised by that.
Will LeBron play next year?
I think so. I can't see him just riding off into the sunset without a retirement tour or just being celebrated the way he has been for most of his career. So I think he'll be back.
Great stuff. Thanks, man. Have a great day. I got to be honest with you. I am not a LeBron James fan by any stretch, but if I could play at this level at that age, I'd keep playing too.
Absolutely.
Because it's hard to walk away. Hard to let you go, but we appreciate it as always. Have a great rest of your day. I know it's a busy time, so all the best to you and your family. Thanks, Hunter. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Same to you. Thank you.
Bet. Hunter Patterson, who is a great insider and helps us a lot. So we greatly appreciate that. We are back with you tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Bill Simonson, The Huge Show. Later on today, 3 o'clock, we'll be talking about this same thing. We're back with you tomorrow, 6 a.m. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. Thanks.
In the Den. It's a new day to celebrate and be free. It's a new day full of action and excitement because it's a new day for winning. Only at Soaring Eagle